There are four common methods of segregating and estimating costs, and we'll be treating three in this video. Number one, we have the high-low method. So the high-low method uses historical data or information from several reporting periods to estimate variable and fixed costs and also to forecast subsequent performance. So there are four basic steps in calculating it in using the high-low method. First, you have to identify the periods of the highest and lowest activity levels. Second, you calculate the variable cost per unit. Third, you determine the total fixed cost using the equation y is equals to a plus bx. And four, forecast total cost using y is equals to a plus bx. The first question, we have units produced and cost. At the lowest activity, the unit produced is 5,000 and the cost is 22,000 naira. And then at the highest activity level, we have 10,000 units produced and 32,000 naira as the cost. So we are going to use this information to find the variable cost, fixed cost, and the total cost. So first, we've already identified the lowest activity level and the high activity level. So we are going to calculate the variable cost per unit. To calculate the variable cost per unit, we are going to be using the formula. We are going to be using the formula highest cost minus lowest cost divided by highest activity level minus lowest activity level. Okay, so our highest cost is 32,000 and our lowest cost is 22,000, right? So divided by our highest activity level, which is 10,000, minus our lowest activity level, which is 5,000. Okay, so this is quite easy, right? We have 10,000 divided by 5,000, which is going to give us 2 naira per unit. So this is our variable cost. Our variable cost is 2 naira per unit. The next step is to calculate our total fixed cost. So to calculate our total fixed cost, we are going to be using the formula y is equals to a plus bx, where y is your total cost, your b is your variable cost, and a is your fixed cost. And x represents your units or your activity level. Okay, so y is the total cost from the question. So if you're going to be doing that, we have 22,000 equals to a plus 5,000 times 2, which is your variable cost, and this is the on low activity level. And we have 32,000 equals to a plus 10,000 times 2, which is your high activity level, right? So calculating it, we have 22,000 equals to a plus 10,000, which will give us 12,000, right? And 32,000 equals to a plus 20,000, which will also give us 12,000. right? So the value of A for both low activity level and high activity level is 12,000. They are both the same, right? Because it is the fixed costs. They are fixed costs, and so they do not vary regardless of the level of production or regardless of the activity level. It will always remain constant. Our next example, Ultra Production Ltd reported the following production cost for the 12 months July through to June. So we have the reporting period, we have total production cost, and we also have the activity level in units for each month. Okay, so this one is very different from the first one we did, although it is also easy. So solving it, moving on, you identify the high and low activity levels, right? So the highest activity level from this data set is April, right? That has 5,900 units with 380,000 naira worth of production cost. And the lowest activity level is January with 2,900 activity level of activity and 200,000 production cost. Okay, so we have for April. April is 5,900 and this level of activity, and we have the cost as 380,000. Okay, and for January, which is our lowest level of activity, as 2,900 units and 200,000 production costs, right? So the next step is to calculate the variable cost per unit. Like we've solved before, calculating variable cost per unit is the highest cost minus the lowest cost divided by highest activity level minus the lowest activity level, which will give us the highest cost here is 380,000 minus 200,000 divided by 5,900 minus 2,900, right? So it's going to give us 180,000 divided by 3,000, which would result in 60 naira per unit. So our variable cost is 16 naira per unit. Okay, so the next step is to calculate the total fixed cost. So we are calculating the total fixed cost as y equals to a plus bx. Okay, so y is, like we know, is our total cost, a is our fixed cost, and b is our variable cost. Okay, so you can just pick from the highest activity or the lowest activity, whatever cost you feel like. So we are going to be using the highest activity, so which is 380,000 minus a plus 60 into 5,900, which is x. So 3,800,000 equals to a plus 354,000, right? So a is equals to give us 380,000 minus 354,000, which a is equals to 26,000 naira. So our fixed cost will give us 26,000 naira. To make it much more understandable, so since we have our A now, the fixed cost as 26,000 naira, and our B as 60 naira per unit, we can easily substitute it depending on whatever x is. So let's assume X is 500, right? 500 units. So let's assume X is 500 units. We can just go as the total cost will now be Y equals to 26,000 plus 500 into 60, right? So it's 26,000 plus 30,000, which is 56,000, right? So given X level of activity, which is 500 units, our total cost will give us 56,000 naira. Yes, our currency, very important.